cloud. It doesn't really matter. I'm not sure yet how we're going to replay it. So, but okay. So it's recording now. All right. So I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions about yourself, and so we can all get to know you a little bit. So can you tell me about your family and your background?
Yeah, so I have two loving parents and one older brother. He's 3 years older than me. My parents' names are Luis and Patricia, and my brother is also named Luis. And so I call him Gama. His middle name is Gamaliel. And so that's kind of what I grew up calling him. So
Okay.
we uh, moved here to the US whenever I was 6. My parents were working as my dad was teaching at a Bible Institute in Honduras. And I think they were there for like 18 years or so. And so then we moved here to the US, and we grew up in a little town called Liberty, which is about 2.5 hours away from here, College Station. And then I came
Okay.
here.
Wow. So are your parents Honduran or what is their nationality?
They are Mexican. So ethnically and culturally, I'm Mexican, but I have dual citizenship with Honduras because I was born there. And so I like to tell people that I was born in Honduras, my parents are from Mexico, and I've lived here in the US since I was 6. So I kind of like understand like all of the cultures, but I don't really identify as one individual one. So it's kind of like, third world country kid, missions kid.
Great, great. Okay. And so when you were growing up, what was your favorite sport or pastime?
Yeah, that's very easy. I love basketball. Anyone that knows me knows that I love to play. I love to watch. We lived on a hill and we had a basketball court. And so I remember practicing on the hill that like our driveway was at. So I was never really, I would say I wasn't super, super good outside of where we played, probably because we always played on a slope. And so my brother and I would play for hours and hours and hours. And then I grew up doing Little League, and that's the sport that I kind of stuck with
Oh,
playing.
good. So what's your favorite team?
I'm weird. I don't really have one. I think something that I find really funny, but sometimes a little sad, is just how people get so passionate about a team and they get so down whenever like their team loses. So maybe that's the reason why I don't have a team. I do keep up with most of the teams and most of the players, but I don't hold a lot of emotional attachment to one team.
Okay, good. So in high school, would you say what were you? Were you a jock or were you a nerd or what kind of group would you I have identified with?
I went to a small school, so everyone kind of knew each other. I definitely was focused on academics. So I took, the AP classes. But because we were in a small school, and one of the things that I would say I think I'm really thankful for now is that we didn't really have a lot of like divisions, like so to speak, or anything like that. So I would say I was nerdy in the sense that I took a bunch of AP classes, but I also talked to all the people that were in sports because I grew up and we all grew up together. So I'd been friends for a long time. Um, I did band in middle school and I stopped doing it. I just did it 1 year, but I always appreciated the people that did band. And I always wanted to be in choir, but I never got the chance to be in choir. So I feel like that would have been really helpful for actually learning how to sing well. But I would say like I think I appreciated each individual like groups per se, and because we were in a small school, got to interact with people. But I would say the majority of the time I spent with was just like people who are really focused on academics.
Okay. And so what is something you're grateful your parents taught you?
I think that's a really good question. I would say something that I can easily pinpoint is just how like love of God and faith was always at the core of our family. um, I would say even in the midst of trouble or stress, that's something that I never really saw, like my parents waver in their faith towards God, and just like the aspect of serving within the church. I think that's something, whether that was doing a service project or whether that was doing Bible studies with people, I just saw them serving so much, and I believe that God has wired them in that way, and they were able to model that for me. So I'm really, really grateful for that, because service is now just, I would say, second nature because of all the service that I've been able to see them do.
That's really great. Okay, so what did you do after high school?
What? Sorry.
What did you do after high school? Where?
So I went straight to A&M. My brother went here to Texas A&M, and so I didn't know if I was gonna go here or go somewhere else, but I decided to go to A&M, and that's kind of why. For those of you that don't know, I kind of came here and I haven't left.
And what was your major, and what do you do for work?
Yeah, so I did international studies in Spanish, and then I now work in property management. So I do community apartment student housing. So I do manage an apartment community here in town.
Okay, great. Okay, I'm just gonna ask you some of your favorite things. What is your favorite food or meal?
Ooh, so hard. Favorite food? I think I'm just gonna say pizza. Just that's the easiest thing that comes to mind.
Okay, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. What's your favorite drink?
Ooh, I like orange juice. I think that's my favorite drink.
Your favorite pastime or hobby?
I would say my favorite hobby that I don't get to do as much is just like sitting down, curled up, reading a book.
Reading.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite game you like to play?
No, I really like watching people play games. I actually love watching Abby's family play games.
Okay. Do you have a pet peeve?
Pet peeve. I'm sure I do. Oh man. I'm sure I do. I can't think of one right now off the top of my head, but I'm sure I do.
We can come back to it if you think of something. Okay, we're gonna move on to you, and how did you meet Abby, and do you remember the first time you met her?
So I met Abby. I actually don't remember the first time, and this is kind of like a really shameful moment. But we met through our young adults ministry that we both serve in, called Junction, through Grace Bible Church. And so I do remember, actually, I met her roommate, and so I met her through her roommate, because she started coming along, and I met her roommate first, and then she started serving as what we call table host. So we both were kind of serving in similar capacities, and so I think we just spent some time in group settings, whether that was like an event through Junction, or whether that was just like something outside of Junction that someone was having a get together. So that's originally how we met. Since I would say there's around that time, there were probably maybe 75 to 100 people that were consistently coming at that time. So it was like a medium-sized group of young adults that were coming.
Okay, so what were your initial thoughts about Abby?
Well, my initial thought was how sweet and just loving she really was and still is, and she was always really present whenever she was talking with any individual. So I could definitely tell that she was joyful. And I found out that she was a teacher. And so I think oftentimes a lot of people have said this, and I'm pretty sure I also said it at the time, like, oh, I could totally tell that you're a teacher, just because of how sweet and caring she is.
Okay, what did you think when you heard she was one of 12 children.
I didn't think, well, first off, I think I thought was like, wow, that's the opposite of me and my family because I only have one sibling. I actually loved and was curious about like her having lots of siblings because I always like wanted to have lots of siblings. So I always wanted to see what that was like. So I think for me, that was just more of like a, not like a curiosity. I was like, what? I was more, wow, like that sounds really cool because I always, thought that it'd be really nice to be part of a big family.
Good. Okay, so how long did you know her before you asked her out or you know?
Yeah, I'm taking a look. So I think I started coming like a semester or so before she did. I think she started coming um, the spring of 2017 and I came in the fall of 2016. So I think it was probably like a year and a half that we were just friends and we actually got to serve together with the same little group. We were table hosts together. And then we went on a summer mission trip. And so I think where things kind of maybe started changing to where I definitely just saw who she was and just the joy that she had in serving. And I think that's kind of what led to maybe just like thinking like of like, oh, am I thinking about this person as something more or not? Because at the time, I really wasn't expecting or looking for a relationship. I think God was using that time for me to just, I would say, serve unconditionally with no expectations, and then also just spend time with Him. So I think that's something that she has mentioned as well, and that we've talked about is that I don't think either of us are really looking or expecting anything. That we were really content in our singleness, and we were content with serving the people that were around us. So
Good.
it was about a year and a half. So it's really beautiful to consider that we kind of already knew each other and then we started serving on the leadership team within Junction together as well.
Can you tell about your first date?
Yeah, happy to. So I asked Abby out, and then it was right before uh, spring break. And so we went on our first date to downtown Bryan. It's like a small, like more downtown-y part. College Station doesn't really have a downtown place, but there's this restaurant that I really like. It's called Madden's, and it's a casual gourmet. Not a lot of people know about it, and so I asked her to go on a date. And so I think initially, like, what I was saying is like, hey, we already kind of know each other as friends, but I really just want to get to know you more individually because we had not really spent any time like one-on-one individually. So I think our date, from what I remember, maybe you can ask Abby, from what I remember, it was just really just saying like, hey, let's just talk about things that maybe we haven't shared or we don't know about one another. So we were able to talk about family. We were able to talk about things outside of just the ministry realm, so to speak, that we were really used to. So I remember just that night, just really just thinking of like, hey, I didn't really want to set any expectations. It really was more of just like, just want to get to know you, and because we never get to spend time individually. Um, but I did wanted to express to her that it was because I was interested in her. It wasn't just, a friend hangout, or I wanted to be very clear with what my intentions were.
That's good. Okay, so how long did you date before you thought, okay, she's the one for me?
Um, I would say because I came in not even knowing if I would, well, I would say at that time, whenever we started dating, I didn't know if I was ready to be married. And I think that's something that I was expressing to her at the time. And so it was never really of like, is Abby the one? It was almost like, am I ready to be married because of who I am? So I think that's something that has taken time, that I think through prayer and conversations with people who know me really well, and we've had conversations together, just really understanding that that she is someone who I would consider just who God has used in my life and who encourages me, and just understanding and knowing the roles of marriage and just seeing who she is and seeing how like she just beautifully like accepts that and loves the idea of that and being able to do that together. So that's something for me that it was the progression. It was never really like, oh, is Abby the one? It was more of like understanding where whenever I asked her out on a date, I already knew that she could be someone that I could see myself being married to. I just didn't know if I was ready to be married. And so I think that has been more of the story within that is just knowing and understanding that um, that the conversations that we have together about that, and going through curriculum through our church. Highly recommend that, because there are people like me who just we don't really spend a lot of time all constantly thinking about that. So
Mhm.
that's been really nice and helpful. I don't know if that actually answered the
Yeah,
question.
it did. So, okay, tell us like how long you between your first date and then the engagement. So you can kind of maybe
Yeah.
tell us when you started thinking, okay, I'm going to ask her, and how you did that.
Yeah. Okay. So I can think of, okay, so we went on our first date um April of 20, well, we became official boyfriend and girlfriend April of 2019. April of 2019. And then it was about a year afterwards where I actually talked to her parents. Hello, if you're listening. So I think it had been on my mind probably um, right around the holiday time is when I was actually thinking of like, wow, am I ready to be married? I think Abby is definitely someone that I could see myself being married to, and there have been no, we've talked about like no red flags or anything, at least on my end, and we constantly talked and just enjoyed our time together and serving one another and just enjoying and having fun. And then so I asked for her hand in marriage in April next year of 2020 during COVID, and then got engaged in June. It was shortly afterwards. I had already started kind of researching rings, and thank you, Vivian, for your, not you, Vivian, but cousin Vivian and sister Vivian to help me out in that. So she was a secret agent in that.
Okay, so how did you propose?
I wanted it to be a surprise. I think that was a goal that I really had. I wanted her to be surprised, and I think we had had conversations about it, and so I think in her mind she didn't know exactly when, but we went out to dinner with her roommate Nikki, and then my roommate Nathan and his girlfriend Rachel. So we went to dinner in downtown Bryan. We went to a new restaurant. I just enjoyed some time, and it was really casually brought up, even though they already knew that I was planning on proposing that night. And so they knew, so everyone knew but her. So we just had this like spontaneous dinner where we happened to dress up a little bit more, which was a little bit unusual, but not out of the ordinary, because we wanted to do something special. So it was really nice just kind of how that came about and the planning that happened there. And then afterwards, I got help from our pastor, Todd and Aaron, and had a box with a custom Bible. I got a Bible off of Etsy that was custom engraved with her name on it. And on the Bible, it actually said, a verse, and it had some notes on it. And so I asked Aaron's help, and we decided to go spontaneously for a walk. And I wanted to show her a park that I thought that she had not been to, but it turned out that she had. So we just decided to go on a walk. So I was like, oh yeah, like this night, I like this part back here. And there was a bench with the box in it, and no one was around. It was getting close to sunset, and we decided to go for a walk. And she sees this box, and in my mind, I thought about most of the things, but the one thing that I had not really thought of is how I was going to get her to open this box. But unbeknownst to me, she like went towards this box and was like, I don't know where this box is, but I'm going to open it. And so she decided to open this random stranger's box. And there were some flowers, and it was just an arrangement, and there was a Bible inside. And so we had talked about a Bible, and she had expressed that she wanted a Bible, but she wanted a Bible with her new last name. And so I had gotten that engraved, and it said Abigail Medina on it. And then on the cover on the inside, it actually said, will you marry me on it? So she opened the Bible, and then I think she started freaking out. I think she was just confused. And then I got on my knee, and Todd and Aaron were kind of hiding in the background, taking some pictures. So it did seem a little rushed, partly because the sun was actually setting. There's actually a really funny story as to why the sun was setting. Maybe Abby, if you want to shed some more light as to why that was the case. I think it really just highlights who she is. Then we had just a little small get together with some close friends of ours at Todd and Aaron's house afterwards. And I was able to just kind of share with them. We were able to just celebrate. So that was June 20th.
That's beautiful. Okay, so who was the first person she called after you got engaged?
I don't know who she called. I think that night was a blur.
Might have to ask her.
Yeah, we might have to ask her. I would hope that it's her parents. I think it's you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, it was because I do remember actually FaceTiming, because they knew it was happening.
Okay.
They knew it was happening. Yes, I remember, because there was like a family get together, and we were able to share that.
Oh, that's sweet. Okay, so how do you feel most loved by
I think what comes to mind is, I kind of had alluded to this a little bit, but just how she's fully present with you. And there's been days whenever she's going through something, or there's days whenever I've been going through something, but I've really just noticed that I feel really loved in those moments whenever, like, I'm coming home from work and we're getting together at my place to have a meal, or I'm going to her house to have a meal, and then she just kind of asks me about the day, and really spends the time, and there's such a desire to support and to love gracefully. And so sometimes I would say it might look like us processing a conversation and her actually asking in-depth questions. Another days it really is more just like, oh, we need to feed you. So I'm gonna make you food because you haven't eaten all day today. So I think that's how I feel most loved by, is just the intentional quality time that she just gives freely, especially whenever I'm not feeling the best. And then I think she can see that, and she just desires to move towards that. And so that makes me feel so loved.
So what would you say your love language is?
Yeah, I would say quality time. For sure. Yeah, quality time.
Okay. And then what's your Enneagram?
Ooh, okay. So for those of you who know Enneagram, I'm a type 1, wing 2, and Abby is a type 2, I think wing 3, Abby, I think. So definitely we've actually had lots of conversations about that. If you if you know about the Enneagram, we've even done some of those podcasts, and just I'm really into it. So
It's so helpful, especially
yeah.
for marriage, I will say. Okay, I'm gonna try to speed, these next few are quick. Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a few things about the wedding. How big will the wedding be?
We are right now, our venue does have restrictions. So our venue is at 50% capacity. So normally they would have about 250. So we are looking at about maybe 125.
Okay,
And
and who,
obviously that'll depend on, people's
yeah,
RSVPs.
who is marrying you?
Todd Berkey. So he is the pastor of the young adults ministry that we are a part of.
Hey. And who, um, who is in the wedding, or is that too hard to say everybody?
Yeah, well,
I
I
might ask Abby. I can ask
yeah.
Abby. Who's in your who from your side is in the wedding?
Yeah, so she has 10 bridesmaids and I have 9 groomsmen. My best man is my brother. And then aside from that, I just have close friends from, Junction and just, my time here in College Station. And I know that she has obviously more siblings. And so siblings, and then same way she would say that she has kind of picked some people from stages of life as well.
Okay, and are you planning on going on a honeymoon?
Yes, we're getting married December 18th, and then we have up until Christmas time. So we're gonna take that time off.
Okay, so here's a few questions about the future. Um, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Ooh. Um, I think see myself or ourselves as a
Yourself.
married couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, as a married couple. Okay, so I would say I see ourselves. I think within the next 5 years, still here in College Station. I think we really love it here. We love our church family. We love what we get to do. I think no matter the vocation, both Abby and I really believe that we can serve God regardless of where we are at. So I think both of us really trust that and believe that for ourselves individually. But I think together as a married couple, I think that's something that we see is for now, we really see ourselves here in College Station, and not vocationally, who knows what, but trusting God in that.
Okay, how about in 10 years? Do you think you'll have children, and what's your ideal number, or boys, girls?
Yeah. Well, I would say yes, we would love to have a family if that's God's will for us. And as far as kids, I would say, I don't know, like we haven't really set on a number or talked about that much specifically, but I think something that I've really valued is yeah, just having um, siblings. I think that's really important, and just being able to spend time, celebrating kids and knowing that that comes with just added, time and investment with it with each kid. But I've been able to see kind of like the joy of having a bigger family. So like I want to say like, yeah, I could definitely see ourselves having a bigger family just because
Like
of
12
there's so
kids?
much left. I don't know, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how y'all did it though. So there would be a lot of prayer needed for that.
Okay. What are you most looking forward to in marriage?
Hmm. I hmm. Looking forward to, I think, just walking alongside Abby for the rest of our lives. I think is something that is really hard to understand and grasp right now. Throughout our engagement time, we've been able to just kind of slow down a little bit and choose to invest more time in one another. And so we're starting to see glimpses of that. Um, but I think, yeah, just walking alongside and even I think what Abby has kind of said, even in the unknown, just knowing and understanding that you have one another in that, and knowing and understanding that we have our faith to lean on towards, with one another in that. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to, is it's kind of like stepping into the unknown, but knowing that you're going to be doing it with someone, I think is actually really beautiful.
Okay, so you tell me who's better at these things, you or Abby, okay? Who's a better cook?
Oh, I think I would say that we're both pretty much at the same level, not because I'm trying to be, I think we're both like average. We're both average.
You're both average.
Yeah.
Okay, who's better at keeping the house clean?
Ooh, I would say Abby. Yes.
Okay, who's better at fixing things?
I don't consider myself a good fixer, but I think I would be happy to research whatever. And so I would say me, probably, if I had to pick one.
Okay, who's more organized?
Abby, for sure.
Who's the most punctual?
I am.
Okay, who is funnier?
I like to make fun of myself, so I don't know if that counts.
Okay, so I just have two more questions. What are the top 3 things you love most about Abby?
Yeah. Obviously coming up with like top things as far as trying to organize them, but what I can think of off the top of my head, I think I love how she always points people towards Christ. So I think that's one of the most beautiful things, is that um, she moves towards them, but then she's really quick to point that it's, Christ and God who people really need. People don't just need a friend; they really need God. So I love that about her. I would say I love her passion towards her kids and teaching, how she is gifted in that, and how she just desires to make an impact in the kids' lives. And I'm able to see that now. And so that's really cool to just see, like, right now she can't give hugs, but she just wants to love on them so much. And I've seen the teachers just love on her, and her kids love on her. And I don't remember that whenever I was in elementary school.
Right.
So I know that it's different.
Right.
Just the I guess another thing that I would point out is just her generosity in all aspects. Not necessarily money, even though she is generous in that and giving, but I think just like I said, her time, her presence. Like if someone's going through something, like she's there for you, and something that I would also say, she's just really generous at like giving grace. That's something that I've definitely seen for myself. And she's given me grace, and just like extending grace upon grace towards people. That's what I love. But not inclusive, not all inclusive.
All right, so let's just end it with, is there anything you want to tell Abby?
Well, it seems like, okay, so I'll say this, Abby. I know that time is quickly approaching before our wedding day, but I want to soak up these moments. I know that right now we're wedding planning, but I want you to know that I'm praying for you and for myself, so that we can cherish these moments as well, so that it's not just something that we're looking past this time until we get to be married, but that we can still honor this time, and just go back and refer to it as times that we were cherishing with, whether that's last minute planning, or whether that's trying to figure out where we're going to spend our time and with whom. Just I love doing that with you, and I'm so thankful that we are in this season, and I'm excited for our wedding. So just wanted to share that, and so thankful for who you are, and thankful for loving church family and loving family who just lavishes on you, and I think that's just an example of who you are. We just want to give back, and so we love you, and I love you.
Good job. Good job. I think we're done. I think it went a little bit long, but I don't know I have no idea what I could cut. So, but so
Okay.
the plan is we're gonna make like a quiz and give everyone a quiz, and based on your answers, like some of them will be multiple choice, and then in order to check our answers, I'm going to play the video. So
Okay.
that's how it's going to work. But I think it went really well, and I think
Okay.
it'll be so fun.
Yeah. Sometimes once I get talking, I just keep going. So thank you for your patience.
Yeah. Let me stop that recording there. Okay.